What's up guys, welcome back. Now I hope you were looking forward to my second video on the Shimatsu no Valkyrie manga series. Now in this video I'll be talking about the first match in the tournament, which is Lubu. Well, not sure if I pronounced his name right because I did see I listened to an audio of the pronunciation of the name and it said Libu, but it says Lubu, so I'm just gonna call it Lubu. But the first match of Lubu versus Thor. Now, before we get into the fight itself, I decided to give a little background information on who the characters are based on and their origins in the story. So first we're going to start off with Lubu. Lubu was a subordinate of a minor warlord named Ding Yuan, but he eventually betrayed and murdered him and defected to Duangshuo, the warlord who controlled the Han central government in the early 190s. In the year 192, he turned against Duangshuo and killed him after being instigated by the Chinese politician Wang Yan. Then from 192 to mid-195, Lubu wandered around the central and northern China, consecutively seeking shelter under various warlords such as Yuan Shu, Yuan Shao, and Zhang Yang. This was unsurprisingly accompanied with several more instances of betrayal and backstabbing, because clearly Lubu was not a man to be trusted. In the year of 194, he'd managed to take control of the Yan province from the warlord Cao Cao with the help of a few defectors from Cao Cao's side, but this victory wouldn't last long as Cao Cao took back his territory within 2 years. In 196, Lubu decided that he needed to keep his trader skills sharp, as he turned on Liu Bei, who had offered him refuge in the Zhou province and seized control of the province from his benefactor. In 198, he decided to side once again with Yuan Shu, despite betraying him in the past, and they both came under attack by the combined forces of Cao Cao and Liu Bei. This resulted in his defeat at the Battle of Jiapi in 199. Lubu didn't have the most graceful end to his life. After his capture, he begged Cao Cao to spare him and promised that he would help lead his men if he was shown mercy. Cao Cao was strongly reconsidering, but Liu Bei was like, nah, we can't let this guy live. So that was that. Lubu cried and begged, and Cao Cao was like, no. And that was that. Lubu was executed, and it was a wrap.
I can't believe I lost to someone weaker than me.
It's something called strategy, Lubu. Someone like you, who depends on physical strength, will never beat me.
Then tell me, what would happen if you add my strength to this thing you call strategy?
So you wish to pledge service to me?
Master Cao Cao, Lubu is a beast. Don't let desire for strength deceive you.
Damn you, Liu Bei!
Farewell, Lu. Let your pride in being the best die with you here in Xiapi.
In the Record of Ragnarok universe, although his origins haven't been confirmed, the record of the Three Kingdoms states that he came from a Mongolian tribe. Early instances of his battle skills were shown when he killed a wolf as a child and then basically set out on a journey to become the strongest. So he traveled around Eurasia looking for opponents stronger than him, and the name Lubu eventually became notorious in the Middle Kingdom. His following gradually grew, with his men basically revering him as some sort of war god. Unfortunately, this didn't come without its hiccups, as after 30 years of living, he unfortunately fell into despair because he realized that there was no one on earth stronger than him, and that was basically a death sentence to him. Similar to the real-life Lubu, he was captured by Cao Cao and begged for his life before being executed in a not-so-grateful manner, or so we thought. This legend actually turned out to be inaccurate because the actual events that took place in the universe of Shimatsu no Valkyrie were slightly different. Now I realize I keep switching between Record of Ragnarok and Shimatsu no Valkyrie to refer to the manga, but it's something unconscious and it's probably going to continually happen throughout the video, so I'll need you guys to bear with me on that end. Back to the story at hand. The legend was slightly different than the actual events that took place, as Lubu was definitely captured, but his cries were not cries of begging for his life, but he was in fact crying because he was falling into despair due to the boredom that he experienced of not being able to meet anyone on earth that was stronger than him. I definitely think Goku would probably experience a similar level of despair if he found out that he could never fight anyone else that was stronger than him, and that he's basically the strongest in the universe. So I definitely think that Lubu is a very interesting character so far. Now that I've introduced you to Lubu, let us take a look at the god of thunder himself, Thor. So in Norse mythology, Thor is the hammer-wielding god associated with storms, thunder, lightning, sacred groves and trees, strength, the protection of mankind, and also hallowing and fertility. Thor is the son of the All-Father Odin and the personification of Earth Joro. So I guess in that instance, Mother Nature is actually Thor's mother. Thor is generally described as a fair-eyed, red-haired, and red-bearded individual. This definitely shed some light on the character's design in Record of Ragnarok, which initially had me perplexed because I was so used to seeing different iterations of the character having blonde hair. But I must say the design is pretty solid and definitely one of my favorite in the series. Thor has several divine items in his arsenal, with the most iconic being his mountain-crushing hammer Mjolnir. He also wears the belt Megan Joro, the iron gloves Jarngripr, and the iron staff Grioarvolver. Now I probably pronounced most of those wrong, but you'll have to forgive me for that. His exploits include the relentless slaughter of the unfortunate enemies who may meet him on the battlefield, as well as his fierce battles with the World Serpent and their foretold mutual death during the events of Ragnarok, no relation to Record of Ragnarok. They don't go into too much detail of Thor's origin in Record of Ragnarok, but there is a flashback to a notable event that took place in ancient Asgard. So it was a regular day, nothing was really going on. The Guardians was talking, they was chilling. It wasn't really nothing to do because it was a peaceful time. So one of the Guardians started complaining, he's like, it's too peaceful. I become a Guardian because I wanted to fight. I need some action in my life. So little did he know, he's getting exactly the action what he is looking for, but probably wasn't how he expected because the Titans attacked.
一体何が見えるってんだよ。そんなあの壁は50メートルだぞ。やつだ。巨人だ。
Reading that scene seriously gave me Attack on Titan vibes, especially seeing the giants come through in a horde like that. But on a serious note, the giants from Jotunheim bust through the walls and they just started to annihilate all the Asgardians. Like it was so bad that they just was eating everything in sight, just breaking everyone up, and it's like the Asgardians couldn't do nothing to fend for themselves. So the giants eventually make their way to a palace, what I assume is Thor's own since he was inside there. So I don't know if they knew he was inside, but they're just like, please come out, we won't hurt you. And they was like smiling and stuff when they see the door open. So they thought they was gonna have a good time, and Thor just started decimating all of them. It was turning into a pool of blood. Thor was just straight faced the whole time. They ain't showing no emotions. While everyone was just getting murdered and blood was raining down. Thor just was looking up the sky and he's like, how boring. So that's when I know this dude was he's a maniac on the inside, I ain't gonna lie. Now that both combatants have been introduced, let's get into the dynamics of the fight itself. So, both men had claim to the title of the strongest, and strongest is singular, so therefore that means there can only be one. Granted, I'm not entirely sure who determined that Thor was the strongest of the gods. I feel like more than likely they just gave him that title for the sake of this battle, because based on what I've seen so far, I definitely feel like Zeus is higher on the totem pole in regards to the gods in Record of Ragnarok. Now, I could be wrong in that regard, but I guess we'll find out later in the story. But for the sake of this fight, we'll just say that both of them are regarded as the strongest, but there'll definitely be only one after this fight. So to start off the fight, both fighters just walk up to each other without having any of their guard up, just nonchalantly doing it, and they both deliver their first strike, and they were both pleasantly surprised that the other was able to survive their first strike, as that was basically something that was unparalleled. The fight was basically a slugfest between two powerhouses. If I had to say which one that I found myself rooting for more, I would say it was Lubu. Granted, both of the characters' designs are pretty great, but Lubu was very expressive and he had like that wild loose cannon type of vibe, and I just really gelled with that. But Thor's stoic personality and design was pretty cool as well, but Lubu just was my guy in this fight. I will say, however, that despite Thor being very stoic in this universe, Lubu definitely seemed to bring out a lot of his personality. As the fight drew on more and more, it was definitely quite apparent to me that both characters were battle maniacs. Granted, this was kind of alluded to based on the backstories that both were given early on, but it was definitely solidified during their match. So to give you guys a little insight onto the battle maniac archetype, I think it goes without saying that they really like to fight. Now, although this is a very necessary component to this archetype, it alone does not necessarily make a character a battle maniac. There have been several instances in some of my favorite anime where the protagonist occasionally enjoys the challenge of fighting a very strong opponent. I've seen this with characters such as Naruto, Ichigo, and Ippo from Hajime no Ippo. More often than not with these characters though, they're usually fighting for something or someone. With Naruto and Ichigo, they're usually fighting to protect their loved ones. And with Ippo, he's really fighting because he just loves the sport of boxing. Battle maniacs, on the other hand, simply enjoy fighting for the sake of fighting. They don't need a reason to fight. The act itself just brings them joy. They often become restless when not in the thrill of a battle, and actively seek out strong opponents to kill their boredom. I would say that there are two types of battle maniacs: the positive battle maniac and the negative battle maniac. With the positive battle maniac, this character is usually not very intimidating in the sense that they're not emitting bloodlust 24/7. They will enjoy a battle with a worthy opponent, but they'll usually avoid killing if they don't have to. The negative battle maniac, on the other hand, is usually very intimidating, bloodthirsty, and relishes the chance to battle to the death with a worthy adversary. Two examples of the positive battle maniac that I would say are Goku from Dragon Ball Z and Yusuke from Yu Yu Hakusho. Yusuke has an extreme desire to fight, and he usually finds great enjoyment in a good brawl. But he doesn't enjoy killing and usually avoids it if he could help it. If I remember correctly, in his battle with Yomi, Yusuke didn't exactly remember what he was fighting for. With all other major fights in the story, there was a purpose behind it, a reason why he had to do it, but he just couldn't find one this time. But as the fight went on, he just realized that he really liked to fight and enjoy a good brawl. Now if I remember that correctly, you guys could let me know in the comment section. And now let's move on to Goku. So, Goku is similar to Yusuke in the aspect of liking to fight, as he usually enjoys seeking out strong opponents so that he could push past his limits, and I don't know, he just really likes fighting. So because of this, he's shown mercy to several major villains in the story, and I know a lot of people ain't really a big fan of that, but you know, it got Vegeta to be one of the good guys, so it wasn't all for naught. Now on to the negative battle maniacs. I feel like two pretty good examples of this are Kenpachi from Bleach and Akuma from Street Fighter. So with Kenpachi, his desire to fight with Ichigo is shown in a very comedic fashion, and more often than not it doesn't seem that serious. But when he's fighting a bad guy, you know, the bloodlust really is let loose. Even as a child, Kenpachi's love of a deathmatch was so strong that he basically mentally inhibited himself so that he could continue fighting with Unohana, who was the most violent Soul Reaper at the time, and that era's Kenpachi. Now with Akuma, his sole reasoning for existing is to hone his fighting skills by battling and destroying powerful foes. Now when I say sole reasoning, I don't think much more needs to be said to explain how much of a battle maniac you are. Now I know I went a little on about some of my other favorite characters from different anime, but I was just trying to use them to get you guys to see exactly what type of mindset that Lubu and Thor have. As from what I've seen so far in the series, these two just seem genuinely unhappy when they're not in battle. What I like the most about Lubu and Thor being so similar in the sense that they're negative battle maniacs, as I illustrated earlier, but it's the fact that they couldn't be more different aesthetically. With Lubu, he's like that wild, barbaric, rebel type of character, and this is shown many times throughout the fight with the expressions that he makes, which are honestly one of my favorite parts about the character, as I said earlier. And then you got Thor, who basically carries himself like a noble elitist who thinks he's better than everyone. At one point in the fight, he even commented on Lubu, saying that his strength was wasted on a human. My favorite aspect of the fight is honestly the fact that despite them being so different on the outside, in terms of their aesthetics, their demeanor, and the way they carry themselves, is the fact that at the very core of their being, they're basically the same. I guess you could say that Lubu and Thor are warped mirror images of each other. The fight brought out the most joy that either men had ever experienced in their life. It was like I watched two soulmates meet for the first time, because both men had finally found that one person, that one worthy opponent that they had been longing for. Granted, I still find it pretty hard to believe that there wasn't one god that couldn't give Thor a run for his money in a fight, but that's just me splitting hairs. It's not really a real issue that I have with the story. So after they had been slugging it out for a while, Zeus was like, hold up, how is this human able to fight with Thor? There's no way that a man-made weapon could actually hurt a god. That's when, it clicked. He's like, oh, I see what you're doing, Brunhild. Y'all Valkyries think y'all slick. So basically the gods discovered that Lubu was using a Valkyrie sister as a weapon, a la a Voland. I would definitely say I'm very much digging, at least from the first fight so far, definitely digging the very selective choice of the Valkyrie sisters for the particular matchup. Because in this instance, Lubu was given the fourth Valkyrie sister. Her name is Rangris, hopefully I pronounced that right, because her name means shield breaker, which is the perfect foil to Thor's iron gloves, Jarngripr, which is said to be able to withstand any attack. So once Thor's iron gloves was destroyed, the battle ended up taking a turn, but probably not the turn that you would have expected. So it was initially believed that the purpose of Jarngripr was to protect Thor from Mjolnir, but in actuality, the iron gloves are meant to protect Mjolnir from the weight of Thor's swing before its awakening. Now, I don't really understand why Mjolnir would need to be awakened or whether some sealing spell was put on it or whatever, but it was definitely interesting. So of course, right after Thor's gloves are destroyed, Mjolnir awakens right on schedule. So after Mjolnir awakens, Thor picks up the hammer, he throws it at Lubu, Lubu dodges it and he comes in preparing to strike. So then Mjolnir comes swinging right back to Thor like a frisbee, and Thor basically finessed Lubu because he wasn't actually trying to throw it to hit him, he just wanted to throw it at him so Mjolnir could come back, swing to him, and he could use the momentum to hit a powerful attack on him. So once that happens, all Lubu could really do was block, and his legs are pretty much totaled after that. Like, they were really bad. Like, the bones was broken. Like, you could see them poking out of the skin. They were definitely not legs that he could use anymore. So Thor walks slowly to Lubu. He's gonna prepare to finish him off with one final blow. And then suddenly, Lubu's trusty seed red hair burst onto the scene. And this ignites some flame inside Lubu's supporters, and they all just start cheering him on, telling him to stand and fight. So by some miraculous means, with the cheers of his supporters, Lubu manages to stand up, and that definitely was a miracle because I honestly don't know how he got up because I'm pretty sure the bones were severed. But yeah, he stood up, and the look on Thor's face was kind of creepy, honestly, because he was so used to him having a stoic expression on his face that when he had that smile, it just was like, wow. It was kind of like how Madara was when he sensed Hashirama's chakra. It was really weird. So Lubu decides to ride Red Hair for the remainder of the fight, but in all honesty, he didn't really have much of a choice anyway. But yeah, he rides Red Hair for the remainder of the fight, and he and Thor prepare their ultimate attack to finally end the match. So they clash. There's a big explosion of like smoke and dust and stuff, and then once the smoke's finally settled, Thor is unscathed, but Lubu's arms are pretty much destroyed. And when I say destroyed, one was completely off and the other one was barely hanging. And then for some reason, he just decides to bite off the other one and spit it out. I don't know why he did that, but it was definitely a sight to behold. After that though, he just stares into the sky for a bit, lamenting on how he gave everything he had into the fight. And after that, he just decides to do a suicide charge at Thor with like this childlike gleeful expression on his face, and he was basically saying like how this was true joy. And then Thor just was looking at him with the most gentle smile on his face before just absolutely murdering him. Like that just really got me, because Thor just was looking at him like it was so gentle, it just looked like it was so full of love. And then just in the next panel, he just cleave off Lubu's whole face. So I don't know, that part of it just really stuck with me. Unfortunately, with the death of Lubu, this also means that the fourth Valkyrie sister Rangrit had to die as well, because once the human dies, the Valkyrie acting as the Volan dies as well. And also, unfortunately, because in the universe of Record of Ragnarok, the humans fighting, and I guess the gods too, they're all basically spirits. So in this tournament, when you die, you dead for good. There's no coming back. The stakes are very high in the series, which is another good aspect of the story, because that basically means that tension will always be high. Thor's reaction after the match was also very nice as well, because he seemed very sad. It looked like he had lost his best friend. And I can definitely see why this would be the case too, because at a point during the fight, there was mention of how the two thought that, if circumstances were different and if they had been born of the same race, that they basically could have been rivals. So unfortunately, Thor just lost his bromance forever. It was only lasting for however long the fight lasted, but it was definitely a good run. Definitely enjoyed the dynamics of the first bout. They did a very good job of hyping the characters up as the irresistible force meeting the immovable object in the limited amount of time that they had. So I definitely felt like I was seeing a clash of the titans, if you will, in the first match. With the characters being polar opposites in terms of their appearance, but basically being extremely similar at the core of their being, it definitely made the storytelling aspect of the fight very, very good in my opinion. Late during Thor and Lubu's match, the entire list of all combatants competing in the tournament was finally released, and I can definitely say that I was really excited once I saw all the names. Once I saw the list, I was definitely very curious to see quite a few of the human characters make an appearance, particularly Adam from the Christian Bible, Sasaki Kojiro, Jack the Ripper, and King Leonidas. Definitely can't wait to see him spot and kick someone. I feel like that moment's gonna be pretty hype. Luckily, I didn't have to wait that long to see my boy Adam make an appearance, because he'll be up in the next fight and he'll be taking on the king of the Olympian gods, Zeus himself. So I'll be covering that match in the next video, and definitely hope you're looking forward to see that. Now, if you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a like and leave your thoughts on the first match in the comments down below. And until then, I'll see you next time.